$1 trillion in U.S. national debt. This is getting totally out of control. Our government is sinking $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. That's right, $1 trillion every 100 days. Do you want to bail the government out of debt? I don't think so, and I certainly do not. When people worry about the national debt, they often turn to safe haven assets. I know, I turn to God, guns, and gold. That's why I partnered with Goldco, the #1 rated gold company, to protect my money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Call 844-903-GOLD. Right now, get free silver, a free gold and silver information kit. What are you waiting for? Safeguard your money with physical gold and silver before things get worse. I promise they're going to get worse. Call 1-844-903-GOLD or visit CandissLikesGold.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Jesus, Guns, and Babies. I'm your host, Dr. Kandiss Taylor, and I have a special guest today. You're going to love this show. She has my most favorite accent, so you're going to love it. We're going to start with 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. So if we're honoring God with our bodies, then we don't, do things that are harmful to our bodies, which of course, the first thing I would think of is like drugs or, being promiscuous sexually. But today we're going to talk about not abusing our bodies with food and chemicals and other things, because we are the temple of the Holy Spirit and we should keep our bodies as healthy as we possibly can. So please welcome to my show. I have a special guest. Her name is Caroline Mansfield. She's from London. And so welcome to Jesus, Guns, and Babies. She's a naturopath.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. It's just lovely to meet you, Kandiss, and lovely to be on here today. Absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited. I did some research on you a little bit and you're brilliant. And so I can't wait. I have a lot of friends who have issues detoxing and they're very conscientious of what they eat and what they put in their bodies. And so they're going to love this show. A lot of my followers, they really, especially since COVID and the vaccine and all of that, they really have tried to be careful because our food is being contaminated, in the air and everything. So I'm so excited to have you on. Will you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this or your background or anything you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So just a quick background of myself. I'm a naturopath of 25 years and live blood analyst at the same time. So I've been looking at people's blood for over 25 years. And when I first started looking at blood, I had one of those, before we had the flat screens, one of these really thick monitors. And yeah, so it's just been, many years helping people along the way with their health. And I think what's happened in today's age, over the last 25 years, is that there's a lot more toxins in our environment that people aren't aware of. So even like trying to avoid the obvious, certain things like pharmaceuticals, etc. Even just eating food and drinking water is a little bit difficult these days to work out, what's good for you and what isn't. So we have to be very discerning. And again, also with, nutritional supplements, for example, a lot of these nutritional companies have been bought out by pharmaceutical companies. So, the products may not be as clean as we would like. The efficacy of the product also, if we're looking at, when we're buying a product, we want to know who's behind that product, the company, where the products are being, or the ingredients of that product is being sourced from. We want to make sure it's, it's legitimate and it's also doing what it says it's going to do. And this is where I kind of stepped in, because my work has morphed over the years to doing research for companies and looking at product and how that interacts with blood and doing studies to see whether the product is doing what it says it's going to do. If it's going to be removing toxins, is it removing toxins? So we've gone into looking at doing, clinical studies with actual test subjects and looking at baseline toxin levels. And then the person would take the product and then we'd retest again. So this is kind of the area of the work that I'm in. And it's ever so fascinating, to be honest, with you, Kandiss. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about really basic is our blood. So when we think about our blood and what it does for our body. It's impossible for us to live without blood. And I think when we think about Jesus and what he did on the cross, and he spilled out all of his blood out of his body for us to atone for sin. So blood is so, in so many ways, spiritually, physically, is so important. So when you're talking about, you're a researcher that is studying blood and how your blood is affected, that's basically an elemental foundational thing, right? That would control our whole health. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because that's kind of what, as you're talking, that's what rang true to me, was like, of course, if your blood, if you just look at the blood, we can look at a million other things, right? But if you just focus on the blood, it probably tells the tale better than anything else.
It does. I think the blood is the river of life within us. You know, if our blood isn't healthy, if our cells aren't healthy, we go right down to cellular level. And that's where we have to be healthy. That's where health starts. And you know, if we pull this back to the toxins in our environment right now, these toxins get lodged into cells and they affect the way the cell works. You know, if we're supposed to be it affects the way our body detoxes. If the toxins get lodged in, say, our liver, you know, they're hepatotoxic, so they're going to cause not only problems with detoxification, but then that liver could go on to develop a disease, you know, further down the line if we're not getting rid of these toxins. And the same with the kidneys, you know, the liver and the kidneys are very two important detoxification organs for the body. So, and as well as that, you know, we have to be looking at, it's not only just what we're eating, Kandiss, or drinking, we've also got this extra stress that we're all dealing with, which is to do with the electromagnetic frequencies, you know, and the 5G, etc. And I've done studies for companies looking at how these frequencies affect us at cellular level and how it affects our red blood cells, for example, where they should be lovely and smooth and round and have a lovely smooth membrane, and it completely disrupts them. So we know that that's a toxin for us as well. The radiation that comes off the EMFs. So it's a difficult time for us on Earth right now. We have to be, you know, just careful as to what we're eating, what we're drinking. And also I feel like everyone needs to be looking at some form of detoxification on a daily basis to remove these toxins that are coming in at just such a rate. And if we're even just looking at foods that we're eating, for example, you know, these nut milks that everybody's drinking, you know, the almond milk and the oat milk, a lot of them have got seed oils in them. And these seed oils, you know, like rapeseed oil or canola oil, you call it in America, are very highly toxic. You know, they're highly processed. They're pro-inflammatory. So this is another toxin. So we think we may be doing something healthy by, you know, skipping from, you know, say going from dairy to a nut milk, but you've got to look at the ingredients again. So there's lots of little things like that. It's like doing something on a daily basis to really help your health. Just making changes.
Well, my kids, they were lactose intolerant, which I'm a little bit lactose intolerant as well. So I did them on like lactose-free formula, and then we went to almond milk, and they loved almond milk, and we stayed on that. I mean, but now they really like this Fairlife milk, and I think it's not patronized or whatever. They like it. They feel like they're more tolerable of it. But golly, I mean, you think you're doing something better for them, but I didn't know that about the seed oils being in that milk.
Yeah, it's just looking at the ingredients of that nut milk. Some are really healthy, some are great. You know, they just don't have those oils in them. But some of the brands are just packed of oil, and they have as much oil as a packet of, you call them chips, you know, from McDonald's in one packet. You know, so they're very, it's not only just even the amount of oil and fat in them, it's the toxicity of that particular type of oil. So yeah, it's a difficult time. But, you know, this is where I came in and I met, you know, Matt Hazem, who we're going to talk about today. And what he was doing was he developed a product that was helping to detox the body, which is basically just, you know, beautiful marine sea plasma and zeolites and clinoptilolite zeolite, which is the one that we use for human consumption. And he was saying how it was removing all these toxins from the body. And I'd found a lab in Europe who were testing for a lot of these environmental toxins. It's very difficult for people to get tested because a lot of the time people will say, well, these aren't really in us, you know, these plastics, these forever chemicals, and these metals. A lot of people don't believe that they can build up in the system. And I hadn't actually tested also for another compound called graphene oxide, which was found in a lot of these COVID interventions that a lot of people had. Well, they was showing up as it was showing up under the microscope. So, but no one was able to test for whether anyone has this in them. So I phoned every lab in the UK and asked, are you testing for graphene oxide? And they would say no. And I would say, why not? And they said, well, it's not in the human body. So I was thinking that's interesting because, that's another toxic element that's coming up a lot, that people are talking about. So when we did some testing around MasterPeace, which I'm going to come on to show you, and in the baseline test for these test subjects, everybody tested high, very high, in that particular one substance.
For graphene oxide.
Graphene oxide, yeah. So we know.
So you did start having them test for that then.
Yeah. So I was going to go on and show you the graphs that
But Caroline, let me ask you something. Do you think that the graphene oxide is what's causing the blood clots? Because that's kind of what my thinking is. I'm a PhD in counseling. I'm not medical. Like I can help you with your brain, right? So, but just from what I've read, it seems like the graphene oxide might be exactly what, of course, the dementia rise and the cancers, but then the blood clotting, these white fibrous clots that are in everybody, is that what is causing those, do you think?
Well, I think it's contributing to it because we know that the graphene oxide is, transmitting and receiving. There's, people have MAC addresses. So they're pushing this back to, it can only be, the graphene oxide, which is a strong conductor of that. And the graphene oxide has a very powerful positive charge. And when we look at the blood and the perfectness of the blood, the red blood cells should have a net negative charge on the outside of the red blood cell. So they're always repelling each other. That's how they flow through the body and through the vascular system, easily. And sometimes they have to go through one by one to the, microcapillaries to deliver oxygen and nutrients and take away waste products. And that's the way the body stays healthy. But when we're toxic, when we've got these compounds in us, like, for example, graphene oxide, which has a powerful positive charge, as do all of these toxins, the chemicals, the forever chemicals, some of the plastics as well, and these heavy metals. And they can cause the blood to lose that charge. It's a colloidal system. And this charge has to be, there for the colloidal system to be healthy. So when these negative particles are there inside our body, it collapses that. And then the blood tends to coagulate and clot. So this is definitely one of the factors as to why, this would be happening in people.
Wow, that makes perfect sense. So do you think that in the UK that you have as many toxins as we have in America? Are you aware of like the chemtrails people are talking about and, of course, our food, and we're a fast food society here. I don't know that you are to the extreme we are in America, but you may be, I don't know. And then we have all these oils and all these things that we cook with highly processed food. Do you think it's kind of like a phenomenon across the whole earth, or do you think that it's, America's way more, or like, what do you think from your research?
Well, I think the UK is catching up. So because we're getting a lot of American food into the UK now, and glyphosate was showing up in the British test subjects. So that was, mainly something that was, a problem for America. But now we're seeing it in English people as well. And also, aluminum or aluminium, as we say here, the levels are high in some people, not in all people. So maybe that's a slight difference, because I know in America there's, it's in high in very, many people. And that's a neurotoxin that's just contributing to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a toxic world, and I think with this whole geoengineering that's going on as well, I think everyone's becoming affected. It's not just America.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That came to me earlier, and I did get asked that, but I was curious because we see so many morbidly obese people in America. And I know I ran for U.S. Senate. And when I ran, I gained 28 pounds because I was on the road and I was eating fast food all the time. And, not overeating, just eating on the road all the time. I gained 28 pounds in 10 months.
Right.
And so I'm short and I'm kind of a small frame person. And then I lost 40 pounds when I ran for governor because I did a lot better job of self-control and planning ahead and that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it's so easy in America just to put on weight. And you see people, my friend does anesthesia and she does surgeries every day with morbidly obese people and cutting their feet off and their toes and their legs because of poor circulation. And they're like, I don't want to lose my feet. And she's like, I want to say to them, stop eating junk and stop overeating, take care of your body. And because
Yeah.
it's so sad that we're in this place of convenience of fast food and then we fall victim into that and then we're ruining our bodies and then you're losing a limb. It's so sad, but there's so much of it. It's everywhere all over America. So that's why I was wondering if it was to that extreme there or if you thought that they were catching up.
Yeah, I think definitely I mean, I remember when I came to America probably, gosh, 20 years ago, and I went to Disneyland and I bought one of these apples and it looked just so beautiful. It looked the perfect apple. It was probably the first time I tasted geoengineering apple.
Like Snow White, right? I'm taking this apple.
It was just like that, but the poison. So,
Yeah.
so I bit into it and I thought, there's no flavor. It just looked the perfect apple, but there was zero flavor compared to, an apple I'd get off the tree in my garden, for example, which looks awful but tastes beautiful. And this is
Right.
the difference, right? Now, and also when we're talking about, weight gain from all this processed food, it's not even just to do with the sugar and the fats. It's to do with the fact that it's got a load of toxins in it. It's got the flavor enhancers and the chemicals and the pesticides and herbicides and the glyphosate. And the body can only deal with so much. So it pushes it out into the fat cells because it has to store it somewhere, has to come out of the blood. We don't want it going around the lymph system as much as possible. So it's going to push it into the fat cells. And then when the fat cells have, sort of come to that point, then it will start to go out into the interstitial fluid. And, this is when we start to have diseases because then the body just can't put it anywhere else. And if we're not sweating, if we're not exercising, if our liver and kidneys aren't functioning at optimum levels because now we've become so toxic, you can see what can happen. And then our gut maybe not functioning as well as we should. So through defecation, perspiration, urination, what else have we got? Respiration, we don't breathe properly as well. We can remove toxins through breathing. So all of these things are very important. And I think it just goes back to we are made perfectly by God. Our body is just amazing if it's given the correct tools to work correctly. But if we're just toxic, we're just going to struggle, So we have to go back to, putting our feet on the ground and charging our body up with, the Earth's energy, because that dissipates all the electromagnetic frequencies. So people just forget about, bare feet on the ground, hugging trees does the same, even if you've got shoes on, but hug a tree, you'll get that energy from the tree. And we used to think about tree huggers as, a bit crazy, but actually it's so sensible
So
to be doing.
is that part of grounding? Would that be similar to grounding?
Exactly, grounding. Yeah. So if you hug a tree, you're grounding in that way as well.
Even if you have your shoes on.
Through the body. Yeah. So,
Wow.
and sunlight as well. It's just all these things that helps our energy. It charges up our body. But this whole thing about geoengineering and blocking the sunlight, through these chemtrails, we get them here. You see them, and then there's this hazy cloud for days, and we're not getting our sunshine. So, all these things are not helping the human body. So you have to be really discerning and just think about, okay, I'm going to go back to nature as much as
And
possible.
then this is constant on your ear and I'm so careful like not to put it on my bed. I know this is crazy, but like I don't want it near my breast. I don't want it near my, my female organ. So like I'm careful to put it under my bed, like through something and I'm charging it. But this is constant, in our hands or here. And I mean, like you were talking about the 5G stuff and I'm sitting there thinking, golly, our phone is with us all the time.
Yeah, it is. And that is a danger, to be honest, because we're holding it and we shouldn't have more than 10 microwatts per square meter coming off anything that we're near. And those are like a 20,000, they go off the scales and we're holding them in our hand. I always feel like I need to get a wooden stick. I'm going to invent something. We can all hold wooden sticks and have our phone because no one's done that one yet.
Yeah.
It's you have sort of Faraday cages for your phone or like a cover, but then that blocks all the signals. I mean, there's different things you can do where you can modulate those frequencies so they become more in harmony with your own biofield. There are products out there for that. I've done research on that for another company, and that's amazing. You know, there's shungite you can wear around you, which does block the EMS as well. There's different things that you can do. But you just, yeah, definitely router off at night. You know, phone not in your bedroom. You know, at least give your body a break at nighttime.
Yeah.
It's difficult because the EMF's all around us. And when I do live blood analysis, no one can have their phone on them because it affects the blood. You can see the blood cells become affected. Within 10 minutes of being on a phone, it takes 1 minute for a red blood cell to circulate your body. Sorry. So if you're holding your phone, you're affecting all your blood cells because it's circulating around. And you can see the effect of your blood, you know, with live blood analysis, just 10 minutes on a phone call.
They're literally brainwashing us, literally, even in our blood. It's crazy.
Yeah. So all these little things are really, really important. But
Caroline, before I forget, I want to ask you something because we're going to get into all this research with Matthew Haseman's product with MasterPeace, which I've been taking for over a month, and I can tell a difference in my sleep. I can tell a huge difference in my energy level, my ability to wake up in the morning, my thought process. Like I'm real quick thinker, and I was feeling very fatigued. I can tell a huge difference. And so I actually ordered more yesterday because I had 2 bottles and I can't find my other bottle. I don't know where I put it. It'll turn up. But anyway, awesome product. But I want to ask you about mammograms really quick and radiation. And is that something in the UK that y'all do as well? But like in America, and you may know this, but like in America, once a year when you get 40, and I'm 43, so they want to do a mammogram every single year. And I have very dense breast tissue. So they do the mammogram. Oh, well, I think we saw something. Let's do a sonogram. Well, it's because I have scar tissue. So they want to go do a sonogram, and then, oh no, you're fine. But we'll go to another mammogram just to make sure. No, I don't want any more radiation in my breast. And so I have not had a mammogram in a year and a half because I'm going to go just do the sonogram. I don't want to put the radiation in my breast. And I was just wondering, like, is that something in the UK that y'all deal with too? Or like what your recommendation is for us in America when your insurance is saying, you have to do this, because they want to pay for the equipment. That's what it's about. It's about these hospitals that bought this very expensive equipment, and the insurance company, pharmaceutical company, hospitals all together want to make money off of consumers.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you have to go for a mammogram. You're saying it's part of your insurance.
Well, once a year, the doctor recommends you go to a mammogram. You have a mammogram after you're 40, but then you can't just get the sonogram. You have to do a mammogram, and then if they see something, they'll do a sonogram. And then most of the time, they want you to come back and do a mammogram again to make sure you're clear.
Yeah. Okay. So, we know that breast cancer has been on the rise for some time, and that is again environmental. And there's many triggers for that, but it's definitely environmental and food, etc. But to stay away from the mammograms, personally, I've never had one. And there are other ways to test your breast, like thermography. You can, the heat sensitive cameras can pick up any abnormalities through the vascular system in your breast. That would be a safe way of checking your breast. We don't want to be adding any extra radiation into an area that's, already, it's right by all the lymph tissue as well. It's a very, very sensitive area. So yeah, obviously it's an informed choice, but there are other ways to test. And I don't know how it is in America with the whole, I know you have the health insurance, etc. And whether, would you be covered if you were to go and have some other way of testing?
No, but it is very much inexpensive compared to the mammogram, because even with a mammogram, you have to have a copay because it's very expensive. And so you can really have the sonogram, or the red light, whatever you're talking about. Somebody has done that too and talked about it. It's just the same price as what you would pay for your part of the mammogram. So it's kind of inexpensive in comparison.
Yeah, it's just the way it's all set up, isn't it? But I mean, there are studies out there that show that the more of these tests that you have, the more, it can trigger things, because obviously it's toxic. Again, it's just introducing radiation in a different way into the body, and it's directing it into a specific area. It's very sensitive tissue. So, Yeah, I don't like to say too much because obviously, it's a difficult topic. But personally, I think there are other ways to look at things and to observe your body. Then do that.
Well, I will tell you too, like when I was there the last time, which was a year and a half ago, there were 3 techs there that had 2 of them had just came through breast cancer, and the other one was being treated. And they work on mammograms all the time. And I was thinking, it's because you're around radiation all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking in my head. I thought this is terrible. And so you're, I don't know. It's just I don't want to. And I felt like the Holy Spirit inside of me was like, don't do this. Don't do it. So just, you be led by the Holy Spirit and know for yourself if that's what you should do or not. But there are other options. So when I get someone on that does know about other options, I try to say that because I don't want any woman listening to my show not to know that, yes, the insurance says you have to do it once a year, but you don't have to do it the way they say. It's your body. You can choose to do other options that don't shove radiation in your breast.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this whole system is just set up with fear. If you don't have this test done,
Right.
then it could be worse for you. If you don't know whether you have something or you don't. But let's just go back to, know your body and just trust in your body and just, live a clean lifestyle as best possible. And then these things should not happen.
Right.
It's what you do on a daily basis that makes a difference, as we age and we go forward in life. I know it is a difficult time on earth right now, but there's so many things that you can do to try and help yourself, and it doesn't need to be expensive either. It's just taking that time, stepping back to look at your lifestyle and what it is you're doing. We're all so busy rushing around, trying to earn money and with family and just our lives are just full throttle for a lot of people, and they just don't just sit back and just breathe for a minute and just even breathe, take a minute to breathe, would reduce your chances of getting any type of cancer by reducing your stress levels.
Yes, we were doing a trauma training with a lot of the counselors, and we were talking, had a traumatologist came up from Florida actually, and we were going through breathing, and they're like, oh, you think it's always got to be real slow and real, it doesn't. Like you can do quick breaths in and quick breaths out. It's about the oxygen getting in your blood. It doesn't have to be even small, like you can be quick. It's like you got to get the oxygen in because we're not taking full deep breaths. And so, and it helps with trauma. It literally helps you to calm down and re-get the blood to your brain and be able to respond without a traumatic response. So
yeah, it's true. And it switches you from that fight or flight, into the parasympathetic, which
that's
is
right.
the rest and recuperate. But it's which a lot of people they're not in. And as you were saying about with taking MasterPeace, you feel like your head's clearer. That's exactly what I felt when I started taking it. And also I felt like an element of like a connection and calmness. Yeah, so that was an improvement in me, and I'm pretty laid back as a person, but I did notice an improvement there, further. So yeah, it's an interesting when we start to clear out these toxins and we start to clear our pineal gland, we start to function that much better cognitively all round.
Caroline, I'm very hyper, and I'm very I'm a fixer. I'm a fighter. People call me a bulldog because I want to defend ferociously people that I love, and I'm passionate about politics. I'm passionate about America being a constitutional republic and us being free. And so once I got MasterPeace, instead of me responding to trolls and people that were on my media saying things that are they're just divisive and they'll make you angry, or I don't even feel angry. I'm like so calm. And it's not that I don't care, I care, but it's almost like it's given me this space of and able to respond instead of react. So it's kind of pulling me back into a response mode. And it has to be on a cellular level because it's helping my brain have time, and it's crazy how it works that way. And I mean, maybe you can explain why it does that, but it truly, I can see a difference in my response.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with MasterPeace is that it has, I don't know if you're aware of the Hawkins scale of consciousness, the Harvard study done. So we know that, for example, you walk into a room and somebody's somebody's got the room's attention, right? They're shining bright, and it's because they're pulsating at a frequency that is high. And if someone's depressed, you can see, they're all curled up and low, and their frequency is low. So in the Hawkins scale of frequency, we know that, fear, grief, anger, these are all very low frequencies. And when we're at those frequencies, we're not functioning at optimum levels. But the higher we go up, and when we go up to courage, and then we go up to love, is a frequency of 500 on the Hawkins scale of consciousness.
Wow.
And that's what dogs and cats and horses are. That's what we love. When we pick up a cat or we pick up our dog, we feel better because they've got a frequency of 500. Dolphins are a bit higher. And then higher up at peace is 602 on the Hawkins scale of consciousness. And really, peace is where we all want to be, because when we're in peace, then we're in the parasympathetic nervous system. Our system's working. We're not, we're calm. We're not producing all these stress hormones, and our system's working better for us. So just pulling this back to MasterPeace, you're asking, when MasterPeace was measured by a company called Focus Life Force Energy, FLFE, it was at the level of peace. So every time you take in MasterPeace, you're taking in peace. And this is helping to calm people down. So I feel this is a huge part of it, as well as sort of removing toxins, because a lot of these toxins are neurotoxic. They can make you feel less grounded, more anxious. And by gradually removing toxins from the body, you begin to feel better. It's not only just your organ systems working better, but your brain as well. So everything starts to calm down a bit.
So where can we find that scale, Caroline? Where's that scale you're talking about?
The Hawkins scale of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the question?
I just wonder where we can find the scale so we can look at it, because like with peace being the top.
Yeah, you can go online and you can just Google Hawkins scale of consciousness. It was a Harvard study that was done. So okay. Yeah, and it's just amazing. So I mean, that goes back to Dianetics, when again there was a scale, looking at whatever you are, wherever you sit on that scale, because sometimes you may sit in grief for a while, which is quite low. If you've lost somebody close to you, you may just go back down. You can go up and down the scale, but it's trying to maintain a higher frequency. And when so when we're vibrating at a higher frequency, for example, then that's when everything tends to come good for us, and serendipity and wonderful connections happen. But if you get up on the wrong side of the bed and you trip over and my day started off bad, usually the day continues to be bad, because you've started off on the lower frequency, and it tends to continue unless you make that effort to through prayer. If you sit and pray, that raises your frequency as well. It's sort of whatever works for you. But
you're right. That's why chaos, the enemy always comes with chaos, and he comes with distraction, because it gets you messed up in a different frequency, and what's a negativity, and the negativity does bring you down. I was going to say really quick, when we were at we have 25 minutes, but when we were at the conference at a state convention last weekend in Columbus for the Georgia Republican Party. And so we were there and we had a prayer meeting, and we all took a different thing. Like I took the nation, people took President Trump, they took the GOP, they took different things, and we didn't talk about it. I prayed, and I got the scripture God wanted me to share, and I shared scripture, and I prayed over the nation. And all of us did this, but during all of our prayer, which we did not talk about, we seek God ourselves, peace kept being said over and over. It was like, peace, peace, peace. And I'm like, we're at war. Like, we're trying to save our country, and we're saying peace, peace, peace. But it's because God wants us to be at peace. He says 365 times, one time for every day in the Bible, not to be anxious, not to worry. He wants us at peace, because that's when we're at our optimal level. And it made you just said that. I thought that is why he wants the Republican Party at peace, and he wants America at peace, because that's whenever he does his best work.
Yeah, peace is the word.
There's the word.
That's what we all try to attain. If we're at peace, then we're just, we're happy with our life. We don't have this angst. It's just so important. It just reduces the stress. Peace is what we all try to attain. And it's just so funny that this product is called MasterPeace as well. And the product vibrates at the frequency of peace. And I did some crystallography on it. I don't know if you know what crystallography is.
I do not.
Okay, so it's when we take the crystallography is basically usually done with water. So it's looking at the signature of water and the messages that come from water. You probably heard of, excuse me, Dr. Emoto's work.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so that's kind of
Well, the rice. It's the rice and speaking to the rice, right, in the water.
Exactly. Yeah, the rice.
And I say what? And I say water.
Water, and I say water.
Water. I try to say water. I cannot. It's so hard. But anyway, yes, and speaking to the water, and then it becoming like disgusting, right? Because of the words and the vibration in your words. Absolutely know that.
Yeah, so they're looking at the crystals that form as it melts, the ice melts, and they're seeing the different formations. And if the water or the ice, had been subjected to some bad language, or then you'll see that the crystals don't form. But through prayer or the words love or peace, you can see beautiful crystals form. Well, the same thing we can achieve through crystallography. So it's taking a sample of water and putting it in a petri dish, and you can, I put MasterPeace because it is made with marine sea plasma. It's 99% water. To see I asked the water what its message was. So when I did the crystallography on it, you can see it came back as transformation was the main word.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's transforming you because it's removing toxins, so the body is then able to do what we're designed to do. We're designed to be healthy. When we're healthy, then we can think clearly, then we can make right decisions.
I'm so glad that you're telling me this, because when I first got it, so I had Matthew on, and then I had, Dr. Robert Young on, which I totally trust everything he says. He's a genius. And when I got the product, before even I had Dr. Young on, it it's MasterPeace. And I thought it was going to be PIECE, like a piece. And so when it said peace, I thought, I hope this is not some new age bull crap, And I was like, what is this? And so I researched it more. I'm like, okay, I don't like the packaging. I don't think that it's a correct, people are going to be thrown off by that. And I didn't even tell Matthew that. Like, that was just thoughts in my head. And my husband and I talked about it. Well, then as we started taking it, we realized the calmness and the peace. That's why it's called that. And so I'm so glad that you're breaking that down, because I understand it. And the enemy, Lucifer, was not wanting me to take it. And he was not wanting me to have peace, and it transformed me. So anything that he can twist and pervert, he'll do it. And he was trying to pervert that in my thinking.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying about the new age thing, etc. But no, it's just
but no, it's not that at all. And I know that now. It's just that was my initial thought when I got it in the mail and I started looking at the packaging of it. Isn't that interesting how things will just play on your brain, trying to keep you from putting something in your body that's going to heal your body?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting story. But what else was interesting was the fact that I know it's Memorial Day with you in America right now, right? And just thinking about all those soldiers that have lost their lives, fighting for the country, and same with everywhere else around the world. But in America, I was looking at the statistics, and I didn't realize that nearly 500,000 soldiers died in World War II.
Yeah,
that's huge. And then I think it was just over 100,000 in World War One. 60,000 soldiers in Vietnam, and so on and so on. It's just a whole list of how many have passed, given their lives for their country.
And the Civil War was astronomical, and
Yeah.
it was a war between our own country, and we're at a precipice right now of a war within our country that we do not want to happen. And so we need revival, Caroline. We need a great revival in America.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's what just got me thinking. I thought, well, how many people die of cancer a year in America? So when I looked it up, it's like over 600,000 a year.
Wow.
When you think about these numbers, and obviously, war and soldiers that die, it's just awful. But I actually feel like the American people are at war.
Yes.
And it's a number of different reasons, as we all know, what's going on right now. but through the chemicals and through the toxins. There's a war on the people.
Yeah.
And this is why I feel like this product is really important. It's one of the pieces. As I said, there's other things that we can be doing, but removing these toxins from our body so then we can think clearly, and make the right decisions about what's going on in the world right now.
Self-control. Do you know that I have more self-control? We're talking about my response, and it's self-control, and that's a fruit of the spirit. But when I believe 100%, these toxins, they really mess with your ability to have self-control.
Yes, yeah. And they mess with a lot of things. There's one toxin that we're studying at the moment called atrazine, which is a pesticide, and or is it a herbicide, pesticide. But basically, there was a study done with frogs, and the male frogs turned female.
I saw that study.
Right, and atrazine, is in the food supply. So it's all of these toxins.
So you wonder if that's perpetuating this transgender feelings of these children.
Yeah, I think we're being messed with in so many different levels. And if we can get these toxins out of us, that's what's the important thing. Because
what about vaping? Is vaping like a huge thing in the UK?
Yeah, it has been, but it's calming down now because I think people realize that it's just as dangerous as smoking.
Well, it's more. And we have these THC vapes, and for the most part, marijuana is illegal in America. There's a few states that have legalized it, but it's more than that. It's the THC that are in the actual vape it's synthetic THC. It's not even natural from marijuana plants. And in these vapes, there are 30 some odd chemicals we've never heard of. So we took them to a lab, they researched them, and I'm going to look specifically at that chemical you mentioned to see if it's there. But there's all these chemicals, no clue what it's going to do to their body, but it's toxins. And they're doing this constantly in their bodies. And we're raising a whole generation of drug addicts. But more than that, they could have all weird cancers and diseases and all these things from these toxins they're smoking. And like you talked about your air supply and how that can clean. Well, that's going directly in your air supply. It's going directly in your bloodstream. It's going directly in everything.
Yeah, it's going straight into the bloodstream. All those toxins, they have to go somewhere, and depending on what those toxins, what that toxin is going to be doing to the body, individually. Yeah, it's scary, and people just are quite happy to breathe in toxins into their body. But it's the way it's all dressed up, and people do. So I'm saying people just need to think, and the more toxic you are, the more you're not going to think.
That's a good word. The more toxic you are, you're not going to think. So the more toxic you spew on you spew on people, right? We see these toxic people that just spew all this stuff. They're not thinking. They're just saying.
Yeah, they're just it's not really coming from their heart,
No.
from a good place, is it?
No.
So, yeah,
let's look at the research. I'm sorry, Caroline. I've enjoyed talking to you so much, and I want to see this research, and we have plenty of time, but you're a wealth of knowledge, a fountain of knowledge. So I thank you so much for sharing with us everything. And I will do, but let's look at the research. I know you want to show that.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think, the most exciting thing, or, groundbreaking actually, was that when we started this study, when I said to Matt, well, let's put this product to the test. And he was saying, yeah, let's do it. And I said, you do realize that if we don't get the results back, then this could be, really bad for the product. And he says, well, I don't want to be selling snake oil. If it's not working, it's not working. So let's put it to the test, right? So not a lot of company owners would do that. So we did the baseline blood test. So it's intracellular toxicity test. And we're looking at, we just looked at 5 analytes to begin with, or 5 compounds, and then we increased it halfway through. And in the new study, I'll just quickly go on to say we're doing a 24 cohort study now, which is a double-blind placebo crossover test of 27 compounds. So this is going to be, a completely different ballgame. But in our pilot study, it was just phenomenal, what we discovered. So the baseline that came back, I was just like, didn't even want to open the emails because I didn't know what we were going to see and what we weren't in people. But let me just, if you don't mind, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, that's lovely. So literally, the baseline results came back. And let me just show you this graph, which you're going to show on the screen. So everybody's levels were high and very high in graphene oxide, 2 forever chemicals and 2 plastics. So we had the PFOS and the PFOA, which are 2 forever chemicals, and they are what you find in, heat resistant, water resistant, fire resistant chemicals. And they're all in our environment, from the food, from the pans we cook in, to our sofas, to our carpets, to our soft furnishings. So they can get in us, very sneaky way. And also polyethylene and polypropylene. So polypropylene, for example, lines the cups of all the takeaway coffees that we have.
Oh, no.
Right. And anything that's heat resistant has usually got polypropylene lining it, if we've got food takeout, for example, as well. And polyethylene is the soft pliable plastic. So this is part of the bottles, the plastic that we cover food with, etc. Or even in our microwave containers. People shouldn't be microwaving food, but that's for another day. But the plastic can leach into your food that way. So these chemicals, they're cytotoxic. They're toxic to the cell. They're genotoxic. They're toxic to the DNA. They're nephrotoxic. They're toxic to the kidneys. They're hepatotoxic, toxic to the liver. They're toxic for the whole body. And if our cell isn't working correctly, then our organ's not going to be working correctly, and our whole organ system won't work correctly. So we're going to have toxins build up even more because we can't even get rid of them. So what we discovered in the baseline test is that everybody was very high in these chemicals. And graphene oxide, by the way, was high not only in the vaccinated, but also in the unvaccinated. So it's not just coming from the shots, and I'm talking about the COVID shots. It's in our air, through the geoengineering. It's in our food. It's in our water. There's so many microscopists around the world showing that this graphene is showing up in a lot of our food produce. So we're ingesting it, we're breathing it, and we're taking it in through medications, etc. So when the test subjects, they took MasterPeace at 5 drops twice a day for 35 days is when we did our 35-day test. And it was just amazing to see these levels come down from very high and high to borderline and tolerable levels. The graphene in one of the test subjects came down by 90% in 35 days, which is just absolutely incredible. I did not expect to see such dramatic results within 35 days. And the forever chemicals and plastics all came down. And then we did another test at 90 days, and everything was still tracking down. So in all the test subjects. So just gradually what's happening is they stayed within the borderline intolerable ranges, but never went back up to the high and very high. So what MasterPeace is able to do is take out the chemicals faster than they're coming in, basically, which is just such an important product, I think, in this day and age, to be removing chemicals in such a way from our system. And as I said, we tested for 5 chemicals initially. Then we increased that to 10. When we included glyphosate, it removed glyphosate. It was bringing glyphosate down from high down to tolerable and borderline. And also we added in aluminium at this point as well. And aluminium is an issue, and everybody's aluminium levels came down as well. So within 35 days again. So it's such a significant product to be bringing out all these really powerful toxins that are messing with our blood circulation, messing with how our body's ability to detox toxins, and goodness knows what else. They're highly carcinogenic, a lot of them. So to remove these from the system is just so important.
So what about lead? Did y'all do anything with lead?
Yes, so we did a heavy metal toxicity test as well, and through the urine, a provocated urinalysis test. And funny enough, in the UK, a lot of people very high in lead and mercury. There's 2 different or 3 different types of mercury, and we just tested for the metal mercury at this stage. But in the new test, we're going to be doing thimerosal, which comes from vaccines, and methyl mercury, which comes from fish. So we're going to be seeing why people have high levels and possibly where the source of that high level is coming from, which is really important as well. But yeah, so the lead the thing with heavy metals as such, they take a bit longer to remove from the body. You know, in my practice over the years, heavy metals can take 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years to really remediate out of the body. They're hard to get out, but you know, you've got to keep on at it. And there's different ways to take heavy metals out. And again, MasterPeace has shown that, you know, through very passive, non-invasive way, because a lot of these heavy metal detoxifications are quite heavy on the body because they remove minerals as well, whereas MasterPeace does not do that. So it'll be gradually removing these metals and pulling them out of your body. So we did see remediation in mercury and lead coming down, but it wasn't as significant as the other the plastics and the polyethylene and the graphene oxide. So, but it was pulling them out. So this is why I feel it's important to be taking something like MasterPeace on a daily basis, ongoing. It's a bit like cleaning your teeth. You can't say, I just clean my teeth and that's it.
Yeah.
You have to, it's something that you should be taking daily. You know, it's just so important. It's just like exercise.
So Caroline, how long have you been taking it?
So I've been taking MasterPeace now for since probably last March.
Wow.
Yeah, about a year. Yeah. And I've done my own testing as well, and my levels were quite high to begin with, and my levels have come down as well. So
I'd be interested to see your metal level, because I do, like, I know we have so many vaccines in America. I don't know, but like our childhood vaccines are up to like 87 or something. Yeah. And it would be interesting to see if your metals are out by now, over a year out. It would be interesting. I know they had some autism studies, and I don't know if you did that. Did you do anything with autism?
Yes, no, definitely. So heavy metals are implicated with autism, you know, significantly. And we're actually going on to do a study with MasterPeace, you know, separately with autistic children, which Dr. Robert Young is going to be running, using MasterPeace. And because there's already been some autistic children that have shown significant improvement through taking MasterPeace. So now we want to go on and do a study in that area separately, which would be really very interesting. Yeah.
Well, I have a cousin who has an autistic son, and she just ordered it. So he's going to start on it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be I can't wait to see him totally healed.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And likewise, I have a sister who's got a 2-year-old daughter who's showed up now as being on the spectrum. And she's just starting to take MasterPeace, you know, giving it to her. So she's one of my a test study on the side for me at the moment to see how she progresses as well. Yeah. So there's so much that can be looked at and evaluated. And I think that's what's so important about this company, because I don't know any other company that's done so much testing, Kandiss. And it seems the more testing you do, the more people say, oh, you should be doing this, or have you tested for that? Why haven't you? You know, you say, well, go and speak to another company and see if they would do the same, because I just, there's not a lot of companies that do this.
Well, I think that this is a God thing, because and I don't know what you believe in prophecy, but I have heard people that I do trust and get prophetic words, and they have said there's going to be a product that's going to come out. There's going to be something that God is going to give us, a tool to get this stuff out of our bodies. And it's going to happen. All these people, millions of people who have taken this vaccine, and they're not all going to die. Like, they want to destroy us, right? And so we're not going to have that. And whenever I first heard about with Matthew, and like I said, when I first got it, it was kind of like, and which was totally the enemy trying to get me not to take it. Then I started taking it, and I felt so much better, and I just so much more self-control and sleeping better and all the things. And I thought, this is it. This is what God has given us. And it was a creative idea. It just kind of fell in Matthew's lap. The way it happened, it was God. It can't be anything but him. And all the research you're doing, like you're saying, other companies don't do the research, but yet every bit of research you have is just confirming and just amazing results. And it's one product, just one. It's not, you know, he doesn't make you have a subscription. You can buy it one time if you want to. It's very easy, and it's less than $1 a day, and it's very affordable. it's because he wants everybody to be healthy.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the most easiest product to take. It's just 5 drops under the tongue, twice a day, or 3 drops 3 times a day. Some people, if they're very toxic and they're having, they maybe don't detox as well, so they need to go a bit slower. Some people like to start off at 2 drops twice a day. Some people get very mild headaches. It's very unusual to get detox reaction. If you go in slowly, which you should always do with any detox product anyway, you don't want to be causing any Herxheimer reaction. It means you've gone in too deep too quickly. So just work with your body, see how you feel. Make sure you drink a lot of water, just to help with your detoxification pathways. And that's, on this study, the test subjects didn't do anything different. I didn't want them to change their diet. I didn't want them to be taking any additional detox supplements. That was just one of the requirements. Don't add anything else to what you're already taking, and don't make any changes to your diet. So they just carried on living their life as they did. So it was just purely MasterPeace that was making the difference. And that's really important for people to understand. And this MasterPeace just goes straight through the mucous membranes into your system. There's no going through digestion. So it goes straight into your system. And it's just the micro, nano-sized zeolites just go everywhere that water goes in your body, and it's going deep into tissue and cell, and just picking out all these toxins, almost like tweezers, and pulling them out, and that's how it works. Otherwise, it'd just be sitting there. And the beauty of MasterPeace, is that it's got the green sea plasma with all the minerals. So immediately it's replacing the minerals as well. So this is another reason why you should not be having any detox reactions, because usually when you take out these heavy metals, they've been working in place of the minerals. So they're like bully boys, and they push out the minerals. So the cell can still kind of function with it there, but it doesn't function properly. And it's also toxic, So the minute it comes out, it needs to be replaced with its mineral. So the cell can immediately start working more efficiently. And that's the beauty of this product. The two work together. So it's an amazing marriage.
Yeah, I think you probably answered what I was going to ask. I was going to ask about zeolite, and I have friends that have had detoxification problems before, and they like the zeolite, and they were saying to me, like, this product has zeolite. And I said, well, it's something to do with the marine plasma too, that works hand in hand, that makes it better than just the zeolite. So that's what I wanted you to explain, and I think you kind of did that.
Yeah. So, and also people say, well, some minerals have a positive charge, but they're not as positively charged as these toxins, right? So they're not going to be latching on. They don't, they get replaced immediately as these very powerful, positively charged toxins get pulled out of, wherever they are in the cell. So the body starts healing at that very deep level, which is where we want it to heal. We want it to, we have to be healthy at cellular level, because that's where the disease starts. So our cells have to be healthy to be functioning correctly for us. So it's a very important product, I feel, right now on Earth at this time.
So what else, Caroline, if you can, we're about to wrap up. Is there anything else that you, in all of your experience and all of your research, we know MasterPeace, this is something we have to have, and you are going to get the link is in the description. Please go buy it. It's awesome. I'm going to continue doing it forever. I hope he never takes it off the market, because it's just it tastes like salt water. Like, it's not a bad taste. You put it under your tongue, it tastes like salt. That's what it tastes like to me. It's like salt water, and it does absorb. It's so easy. My 7-year-old takes it. I have a type 1 diabetic who's 16. I've been giving it to her. We give it to my 19-year-old in college. All of us take it. And so y'all need to go buy it right now, today, and get on it. It will help you. But is there anything else that you can give us a wisdom on? Y'all should be doing this as well. And I know you know so much, and you have so many products, but if there's something that's quick, or a couple of things that you can give people before you go.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just, I say always go back to nature. We touched on the grounding. So we're taking things like MasterPeace to help pull out these toxins. Other things that you can be doing is alkalizing the body. So having things like lemon and cucumber in your water is going to help. Just let it sit there for a while, then drink that water. So if we're alkalizing the system, we want our blood. Well, our blood always maintains 7.4 pH or thereabouts. But it's not to do with that. It's to do with the interstitial tissue where all the toxins get pulled out to or pushed out to. And if our ocean body, our interstitial tissue is too acidic, then we're going to be sick. And we see this in the blood. You know, if our interstitial tissue has a high pH, it's reflective in the blood because the cells are whooshing around, coming into the blood system, but they're bathed in the interstitial fluid as they circulate. So we see the effect on the cells, you know, which isn't great. You know, it causes cells to start to break down. So we want to keep our system as alkaline as possible. So things like chlorophyll, you know, chlorophyll drinks, green smoothies daily, as long as it's organic. Try and stay away from non-organic vegetables as much as possible. Sunshine is so important. The water you drink is so important. You know, distilled water or reverse osmosis, anything that's going to remove the chemicals, you know, the fluoride and the chlorine from the water, and anything else, because they can't remove the drugs from the water when it comes through the tap. So we know through water distillation that removes everything, because it's basically mimicking God's way of cleansing the water, you know, through precipitation and distillation, through make the clouds, you know, and that's what we're doing in this little pot. So when I don't know if you've got a water distiller, but that's the best thing to do. So you see at the end of the distillation, all the pure water, which has had everything removed from it, is in a jug, and you open up the actual the kettle part of it, and what's left is all the smelly, stinking chemicals. It's just quite incredible. So I've put that under a microscope as well and had a look at it. Oh, it's disgusting. So to remove everything out the water, and then, you know, to structure your water as well. We talk about being able to hydrate your body, and fourth phase water, which is just, you know, the cells recognize straight away. Fourth phase water is also in, you know, your vegetation. It's the water that's inside your greens. It's called green water. So by hydrating through having a lot of, you know, celery and spinach and cucumber and things like that, all organic, it's going to help to alkalize your system. Your system's going to work more efficiently. It's going to be better at removing toxins as well. So toxins will be removed the more alkaline your system is. So all of these things make a huge difference. And as I said, touching on the EMFs, please turn your routers off at nighttime. Don't go on your phones, you know, give yourself a break, because it's non-ionizing radiation, but it's radiation, and it will build up and build up and build up. And we know there's so many studies to show that these devices are carcinogenic. And you know, you need, it's such a difficult time, even us, we're on our computer today talking, and it's hard to get away from it. Right. But we've just got to be really discerning as to how much we have of it.
Right, we're gonna go outside right now for a walk, because we have a beautiful day. You have a beautiful day in London. I have a beautiful day here in South Georgia, and we're gonna go outside as soon as we get off this, Caroline.
Yeah, exactly. But also it's like not being near cell towers. That's the other thing. Because I've measured the frequencies in the streets of London, and they are up in the million micrometer. It's just amazing. It's higher than standing in front of a microwave that's on cooking food, which is leaking. So, and we know that this is causing all sorts of, you know, cancers and leukemias, and affecting our white blood cell counts. It's affecting us, but because we can't see this radiation, people just don't believe it. But believe me, it is. I see the blood. So, you know, if you have a choice not to be living near cell towers, that's another thing to be aiming towards. If you are living near a cell tower, then look to maybe move away. I'm just thinking long term, because all of these things are affecting us. It's not just the chemicals, it's the EMFs, it's the lack of sunshine, lack of fresh water, but there's things that we can do, and it's not that expensive.
Well, Caroline, thank you so much for coming and sharing with our audience. You're amazing, and I would love to have you back sometime. And so if you come to America, you come to Georgia and come see me.
I'd love to.
I'd love to come to London. I've always wanted to go there. So maybe my daughter will be a junior. So in 2 years, she wants to go to Europe for her senior trip. So I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, lovely. It'd be lovely to see you here.
So I appreciate you so much, Caroline Mansfield, and they can follow you. I saw CarolineMansfield.com. Is there any other way they can get in contact with you?
Just my email, caroline@carolineMansfield.com. If anyone's got any questions, then yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And you're on social media as well.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook as well, and Instagram, and yeah, everything. But I don't go on social media so much. I'm not one of those. Again, because it's spending time on your phone or it's spending time in front of the computer. So yeah.
She tries to put information out, but not be sucked into it. That's good. We need to all do that. Put information out and don't just suck into it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, exactly.
So thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all next week on the Stu Peters Network at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you. Love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
$1 trillion in U.S. national debt. This is getting totally out of control. Our government is sinking $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. That's right, $1 trillion every 100 days. Do you want to bail the government out of debt? I don't think so, and I certainly do not. When people worry about the national debt, they often turn to safe haven assets. I know, I turn to God, guns, and gold. That's why I partnered with Gold Co., the #1 rated gold company, to protect my money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Call 844-903-GOLD. Right now, get free silver, a free gold and silver information kit. What are you waiting for? Safeguard your money with physical gold and silver before things get worse. I promise they're going to get worse. Call 1-844-903-GOLD or visit KandissLikesGold.com.
There's a whole bunch of stories that have to be dug into, rethought, reconsidered, and in some cases completely discarded.
As modern Americans, we've been spoon-fed this dumbed-down, cartoonish, simplified version of history. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. Everything that we have been taught is part of a self-serving narrative written by the people who will say and do anything to keep us on a leash. Now, this version of history, some big-name corrupt families like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and their many associates are credited over and over and over again with propelling human development. Throughout the late 18 and early 1900s, almost every major American city was burnt to the ground. What if we really are quite literally living atop the ashes of an advanced civilization that's been hidden from us for our entire lives?